Mike Matlock is with Meridian, and he's going to share with us Meridian's perspective on their connection to safety. As Penny Chen is with Yokogawa, and she's going to share Yokogawa's viewpoint, and Aaron is going to share Bentley Systems. Okay. Any questions from the floor, please? Nobody. Are you all doing this well? Are you really doing this well? I don't believe it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, I have a question on, I heard the comment and I said it myself, my intuition tells me that if you don't follow some safety best practices in your design and your plan and installation, there must be an impact on the insurance and obviously a consequence on the liabilities. But is there any real evidence of that? I just experienced that and I wanted to check that with the members of the panel.
Anybody?
Think so. What I would say to that is it might be good to reference Don Schubert from Marsh Institute has spoken previously at Meridian conferences around, I'm from Meridian, about that, particularly in the power utilities. He has some pretty good statistics related to that, and we've also had a number of clients who've come back and stated that having effective asset performance management as a part of their systems has been a topic during the auditing time and respected and considered in their rates. And some where they've had incidents and not had that in place have actually, and this goes in other parts of the world as well, have stated they were rejected. So I think there's data out there I can't provide. I'd be more than glad to at least refer you to Don. But Don Schubert, if you look him up with Marsh Institute, has been pretty outspoken. And it's really around unplanned events and having systems, right, in place that address those in an effective asset performance management. My own past with the Dow Chemical Company for 33 years would also indicate the same thing.
Yep.
Is that I think there's real correlations that are in place, but the data is going to be like a lot of things you talked about in different places and maybe not all in one, but the insurance companies can speak to it most effectively.
I'm Aaron Baisley from Bentley Systems, and we have the same experience. Scottish Power have a strong case study for that. ArcelorMittal Steel as well, and a lot of other customers. They've all, if you can show due diligence in your asset performance management process and the failure modes being pre-planned, so to speak, pre-identified, and your mitigation plans in place, including safety and how you deal with your control and safety systems and test them, and show you've tested them as you were talking about, right? Get it documented. They get insurance premium reductions that they can speak to you about. We can connect you as well, and you'll see them published in literature and conference proceedings and things.
Great. Anybody else? This came up in our workshop on Monday, and I think it's important to point out that in the past there has really not been a yardstick for reliability. Everybody's been flying by the seat of their pants and developing their own thing. But now with ISO 55000 that supplies a framework for asset management, we believe that there is real value in that. And that will act as a guide, and it is now something that the insurance industry can point to and say, this is what we want to see, and these are the things that we want you to be doing. And if you're not doing these things, we're not going to insure you. We're not going to underwrite you. And it came up at that workshop that it really is not if, it is going to be when. So I think the better that you can prepare yourself now for that, the better off you're going to be going forward.
Paul, if I could just add one more. So just maybe a little different perspective on it, but through many, many audits over the years, one of the things that particularly regulators look for is not only your compliance with external standards, but your compliance with your internal standards. And so it's really the integrity check, right? It's say what you're going to do and then do what you say. And if you're not doing that in certain areas, if I'm an insurer or frankly a regulator, it brings suspect then, if you're not showing me, and this really comes back from my experience over many years, it's about discipline. So if you're not disciplined in an area, I'm going to start to look for other evidence in other areas to indicate that that's different. You know, show me that that's not indicative of the other balance of your performance. And I think insurers are looking the same way. I mean, these are smart people with great statistics and knowledge. They understand value of risk.
Yes, they do.
And so when they're in your facilities or looking at things, they're actually looking for evidence that really goes against, you know, lots of relational data that they have to indicate, you know, what either you should be paying or what the risk is associated with it. So just additional.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a separate question. Now, I found that survey that Joe presented really interesting. Can you share a little bit on the basis of the survey? I mean, was it a global survey, only North American users?
Yes, I can, Luis. And I'm going to, you know me, I'm going to try and do this from memory, and I'm a little tired, so Rain Man may not all fully be here. Suppliers in approximately 20, or manufacturers in approximately 24 industries, including all the majors, 130 to 150 different respondents, people of various skill sets and expertises. We tried to hit people who were in the instrument shop, who were in management, who were in engineering, and who were up at the enterprise and the business level. And we asked them approximately 100 questions, some very spot-on topical, some more about the business. And by the way, Luis, Larry O'Brien, who was in here, and I will be issuing later this year a best practices report about just this type of thing as a result of all this data that we collected. So that's coming.
Great. Any other questions from the floor? Not one. Yes, please.
So my question is for Ali. You mentioned that you guys did not have gas detectors installed before, and when you decided to install those, you went with wireless gas detectors. My question is, what was the motivation behind your decision to install gas detectors in the first place, and then second, go with wireless gas detectors?
Okay, the nature of the project, we have that one on the fast track project, and also very minimal facilities. If you look at the wellhead platform, is a monopod. It's a very small facility with minimal power and so on. So we were trying to cut down on the power requirement and leave or go with the minimum safety requirement. It's not that we don't have any safety consideration at all. We have a fusible plug in case, you know, it's open platform, you know, open sea, yeah? So if there is any loss of containment and so on, if explosion were to happen, worst case, we have other means of detection. Right? So I think at that time we can get away with not installing electronic wireless electronic gas detectors. Right? But when the opportunity comes that we can try out these wireless gas detectors, it's running on batteries, right? And I want to see how reliable it is. So that is the motivation, I think. Right?
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, here's one.
So some of the regulatory regimes, particularly for offshore platforms, do require a periodic review of safety critical elements and your plans to inspect and maintain them. You know, I found, Joseph, some of your comments interesting. A lot of the owner-operators put it out to tender to an engineering firm to do that review. And as a result, sometimes they seem to lose some of the benefits you identified because that outside firm is trying to complete the work in the minimum amount of time. They're really focused on the regulatory aspect. and they lose sight that at the same time they could be looking at saving money and other benefits of doing the review. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I will say I wasn't intending to be harshly critical of them, but obviously you could tell I get passionate about this stuff. I think those outside firms that get contracted, if they were maybe brought into a discussion with operations and engineering that had supported defining the control strategy, they could, if they don't already have it and they're not trying to just send you another bill to share that knowledge with you, they could be made to be part of your company's solution. In other words, yes, you do this for me right now, but we'd like you to do more. Could you share the data? We'll help you integrate it with our plant, you know, our corporate level systems and that. So I agree with you, sir. I tend to challenge people to try and fix what I think is wrong, and sometimes I might bruise them on the way. But your point is very well taken.
Anybody else have a comment?
Yeah, I've seen clients take, they're starting to take a turn towards, we used to rely on contractors, but we don't own the data. We don't really understand it. It's a report. I can't integrate it, as you said. It's a PDF, and that's all I've got. And so they can't do a query on it. They can't do any analysis. So they're starting to slowly come around to, you know, asking vendors like ourselves, can the third-party user access a system? Is there ways to put that data in the system that we've bought from you so that we now own that data and can use it in our decision-making? So companies are coming around. Your survey shows the speed, but you know they're coming around slowly, and the third-party contractors will still have their work. It's just a matter of sharing the information back to those who paid for it to be collected in the first place, so it can be further acted upon.
One other thing that I would add is, and I think it's back to that connectivity, is regardless whether it's in outsourcing and you have another a company doing, I think at the end of the day, who owns it? Reputationally, you know what happens when an incident occurs. It's usually for the legal team to start to see, well, who was secondary or tertiary, but we know who the owner-operator is and where the focus goes. So I think it's recognition by companies that they really own it, and then this connectivity of, and we were talking about this with the enterprise buses, et cetera. But I was having a conversation earlier today with an individual, and they were talking about reliability, and they made the statement about, well, don't you just think that most of the reliability issues are random? And the challenge that I gave to that individual, I guess by spending a long time in industry and now in the software side and asset performance management, is it may only appear to be random because we aren't connected to the right sources of data. And we may not have the ability through the right kind of algorithms to analyze and to look for patterns, et cetera. And so if today we said it's 60% or 80%, would we say 10 years from now it's 20% random? So I think it gets in a way back to no matter where we outsource or who does the work, as long as it's credible, it's accurate data, and we can bring that back in, and then have an integrated system that can then in a very connected way begin to look and analyze that data and then bring it back for improvement. I think that'll make a world of difference. And I think companies, frankly, the high-profile incidents that have occurred have really, whether people notice it or not, have stirred really at the heart of companies.
Can I just say, Peanut Corporation of America, they're going to start sending people to jail. Penny, would you
And they
like
have.
to chime in? I see you nodding your head.
Yes, I probably want to give a slightly different aspect of it. If you look at the industry now, there are many other technologies can allow in enhanced safety. Maybe it's different than our traditional safety, but really there are many things that has been going on. For example, in abandoned well, by regulation, you must watching it every year or half year. So right now, what really happened is we have more than 25,000 abandoned well in just Gulf, Mexico. What they happen is they have to send people. They have to hire contract to do measurement every year or every half year. What happens if you have so many wireless technology available, you really could put a sensor there to watching. They may not be 100% reliable, they may not be, but they give you much more touch and feel, feeling in the field that will truly enhance. So one of the key part Paula has been talking is reliability with the gloves and the hands together. I really think that's a very important point. Reliable network will bring you possibility to have better performance. Many times we say data analysis, still you need good data in the field. If you have a bunch of wrong data, will make your analysis a headache, isn't it?
That's a good point, Penny.
Yeah, and not to beat a dead horse, but when I was doing RCM analyses back in 1992 in a steel mill, you know, part of the RCM methodology is to look at safety systems, and now there's SIS and SIL and other technologies and standards, IEC 61508 and 511, and you know, things have moved along. But your point about complacency in your presentation, you know, even the wireless, it's fantastic. The human doesn't have to go out there, but make sure you're testing the full circuitry of those systems to make sure that you can depend on them, because as you said, the big problems come from the multitude of failures that are hidden. And whether you're doing RCM or not, don't depend on things you haven't tested, right? The smoke detector has a battery, but you ever put smoke to your smoke detector? Right?
Absolutely, good point.
Actually, the example Ali gave is very, very interesting. This wireless gas detector is Cell 2 level certified. So it is technology proof for this, for safety, enhanced safety application. I never said replace one.
Yes, Keith.
Hello, yes. Okay, yeah, appreciate all your input and stuff. This goes back to one of Paula's earlier slides, so Paula's comment, I guess, and anyone else from the team. I'm in the support of nuclear facilities, so of course safety systems are a big part of our business. And when you first showed your cut of what causes problems and stuff in safety systems, the one slice that I was looking for that I didn't see, is it software related, hardware related, or people related? Those three categories, where do you think the most, or I mean, it's across all three of those issues, but how do you rank those, and where do you see, I mean, improvements we can make in those areas across hardware, software, and people to improve the safety systems?
Well, I'm going to jump right in here, and again, I thought I tried to make the point, at least in the presentation, is that the people are the wild card, in my opinion, because you can't really predict as well what they're going to do. I think that, you know, the software is very stable these days, as well as our systems and our communication systems. And if we integrate it properly and get the right data, we can do that, but will the people act on it properly? That, to my mind, that's the wild card. Anybody else?
I was just going to comment, if you look at where the spending in industry is going, what would it tell you? It would tell you that we think the people is really the weakest link. If you look at layers of protection analysis, and when you'd say, but we're going to count on a certain activity taking place by an individual, what's the next question? What happens if they don't do that? Yeah, I think and the change management, I think they all continue to be the biggest challenges because of, you know, I don't know what the latest data tells us around human beings. I heard at one time 2 sigma, whatever, so, you know, versus others. So just as you look at, I think that it's recognizing that they all count. And so in various cases it may be different. You know, if you're probably on a surgical table, the human's pretty important. I want to, you know, I want to make sure that.
I don't want that 6:30 at Monday morning. I don't want that one.
If Watson was coming at you, I'm not so sure. I kind of want the guy who's done it, you know, 20 different times, or, you know, 200 times, whatever. So I think that's something. I just wanted to make another comment too. An old statement that was shared with me years ago. It's a little bit of maybe, you know, hill country kind of knowledge, but I've always kind of clung to it, is that it's not what you don't know, that gets you in trouble. It's what you think you know that ain't so. And I think that's in spades around this area, and that's why that testing and validation is so very, very important, is to just make sure that your plan stays dynamic and it's always being evaluated.
I think that's a great comment, and on that note, I'm going to conclude this panel, and thank you all for your participation.